It looks like we still have people entering the waiting rooms, so wait a little bit. Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the March UIC and UIS Business and Finance meeting. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ginger Velazquez, and I'm the Executive Director for Business and Finance in the Office of Business Services. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. You have all been placed on mute, so please type any questions you might have into the chat box. And keep in mind, those chat questions go to everyone. And we do have a team that's reviewing the questions as they come in, and we will try to get to all of them. But if time constrains us, we will be sure to review any unanswered questions after the meeting ends and follow up on those as well. Also, we will again be recording our meetings and emailing each of you a link to the recording. So if you have additional questions that come up afterwards and need to review a segment of this meeting, or if you need presenter contact information, you will have all of that as well. And finally, always feel free to reach out to me and my staff whenever you have questions or comments or ideas. Bernadette Rossmore and Stacy Balmas are here to serve you and of course assist in any issues you might have. And you will find our contact information on the last slide of the presentation, so you can reference that at any time. One small change to the agenda before we get to Mr. Aaron Carter, Brent Rasmus had a quick update. So Brent, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ginger, and good afternoon, everybody. I have a short announcement, but it's an important announcement related to fringe benefits. I wanted to make sure everybody who manages self-supporting funds, specifically 3Q departmental activities, which service primarily the general public or other external entities, about a change that will take place starting with fiscal year 23. And this change impacts health, life, dental, or HLD fringe benefits specifically for 3Q departmental activity funds. The state agency that manages the statewide health insurance program, Central Management Services, or CMS, submitted a clarification to the state statute governing the type of funds exempted from paying HLD fringe. And that clarification was approved by the legislature in January. So due to that clarification in statute, effective for fiscal year 23, 3Q departmental activity self-supporting funds will not be assessed HLD fringe. There are no changes to the assessment of retirement fringe for 3Q self-supporting funds since the state statute related to SERS and for the CMS health insurance coverage are completely separate and not connected with each other. But for those managing 3Q self-supporting funds, you need to be aware that going forward, those funds will continue to pay SERS fringe, but not health, life, dental fringe. And this change will take place with the biweekly 16 and monthly 8 pay calcs after the start of the new year. So hopefully this is a bit of good news. And if anybody has any additional questions, feel free to send me a note or give me a phone call. That's all I had. Thanks, Ginger.
Sure. And I don't see anything, Brent, in the chat.
Brent, I was just going to clarify, this goes into effect in which fiscal year?
This goes into effect for fiscal year 20. I'm sorry, I said 23, didn't I?
Yes, sir. He's still working on the audit.
I always work from a year behind because of the audit. So thank you for catching that. Yes, the fiscal year 24, we're in 23, obviously now. This goes into effect fiscal year 24. So I am usually working a year behind, and So anyway, yeah, fiscal year 24 in July, biweekly 16 and monthly 8 pay calcs.
Great. Thank you, Brent. And if we get any questions later in the chat, we will be sure to follow up on that. So thanks for the great update. And Aaron, Mr. Carter, so we have a full agenda today. Without further ado, I will turn things over to Aaron Carter, AVP of Procurement Services in the Office of Procurement Services.
Hey, thanks, Ginger, and I'll keep it quick. I think a lot of the stuff I'm going to be covered later presentations. Just want to remind everybody on the call that the announcement went out, I believe yesterday or the day before, for the new UPay monthly discussion group. And I know Melissa's on, and I think some others that can add to this. But I think it's going to be a good thing, an opportunity to kind of gather, talk through some pain points, some concerns with policies, best practices by your peers. So just an opportunity to have maybe a more intensive discussion than what tends to happen in the BMG meeting. So looking forward to that. If anyone missed the announcement or how to register, please let us know. I think colleague Deborah may cover some of this, but just a reminder about policies in general. If anybody listened to our Senate Appropriate hearing this morning, I had some senators particularly interested in our P&T card audit findings. So I anticipate some larger conversations on that. A lot of questions this morning on how we're doing there and where our lack of compliance is. So it's always important. I know everybody does their best, and we're trying to make states' needs fit into the mission of the institution, which can be square peg and round hole sometimes. But so just appreciate review of all that. Yeah, so I think that's all we have. I think teams are going to cover the rest as we move forward. So happy to take any questions and hope everybody's doing well today. Thank you, Ginger.
Thanks, Aaron. And I don't see any questions in the chat right now. So up next, we are going to hear from Jeff Weaver from UAFR with an update on equipment management. And Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Ginger. I will introduce myself for anybody new, and I haven't been to one of these for a while. So I am Jeff Weaver, Senior Director of Property Accounting, and Property Accounting is located within the Office of University Accounting and Financial Reporting. And thanks for the opportunity to present information about recent and upcoming updates in the world of equipment management at the university. And I will apologize in advance. I am fighting a cold. If I mute myself, or worse yet, if I don't mute myself before a sneeze comes. Thanks, Bernadette, if you can advance that. Of utmost importance today, and this is a bit of a upcoming event still, but the 2,500 equipment threshold implementation, I believe for everybody who attended the January 18, 2023 AFO BMG meeting, you were made aware there was proposed legislation at the time about the equipment threshold change. That was merely proposed legislation back at that meeting. Subsequent to the meeting, that legislation was signed by the governor and went into effect. We in property accounting have worked diligently with both state agencies and university working groups to make this threshold change happen as soon as possible to assist units. One example of that I'll give you is, even though the State Property Control Act was changed, the state doesn't always do the best job of coordinating things. So actually the Office of the Comptroller still has the old threshold in the regulations for what's required of state agencies to report. So we really had to do some politicking, even with some of these other agencies, to allow the university to move forward with this threshold change. And we were successful in that as well, and cleared all the hurdles with state agencies and internal university groups to allow us to change that university policy and move forward without any concern about compliance with other state regulations. For those who were at the university in 2019, This is going to be a real similar process to what happened in 2019 when the threshold changed from 500 to 1,000. Now in 2023, we're changing from 1,000 to 2,500. And we're going to do this in phases, just like we did in 2019 and beyond, with new acquisitions and procurements really being the first phase, and record disposals and updates being phase 2. So phase 1, relative to new acquisitions, our goal is to implement this effective April 1st. And we use that date because we were still in process of updating policies and procedures. You'll see those are going to be updated in the days ahead. We've updated the account code ranges used to procure equipment for the threshold change. So the 2 account code ranges really specific to this are 126, 127. The 126 is really non-inventoried equipment. So that is equipment that costs now below $2,500. It used to be below 1,000, and it's a sister code to that is 127, which is the account code to use, the range to use when we have equipment costing more than 2,500 that we need to add to inventory. So those account code ranges have been updated, and if you use ACS or go into Banner, you'll see those ranges have now been updated. We're still in the process of updating web pages and online resources, so you'll see those are either updated or will be shortly in the days ahead. The key here is the new purchase threshold and tracking threshold is 2,500 for everything except vehicles, firearms, and any items of historic treasure. We don't normally buy a lot of items of historic treasure, so I don't expect a lot of people to remember that one. But again, vehicles, firearms have got to continue to be inventoried regardless of cost. But all other equipment will follow the new 2,500 threshold. So we have a lot of in-process records in FabWeb of items that have already been procured. We've been invoiced. They're in your FabWeb inboxes using the old threshold of 1,000. So, and actually this cutoff will, we don't expect to see any more new purchase orders or newly placed orders from here on in using that old range. But for already in process purchase orders and invoices, we do expect those to continue to process out. We're not going to try to stop those in any way. They'll be paid under the account codes that they were purchased under. But these in process records will have to be handled and basically removed from inventory. Starting April 1st, we're not going to be adding anything to inventory that is under that $2,500. So anything that's in process under $2,500, our office in property accounting will be working with you in the units and your property people in the units to reclassify those transactions into really non-inventoried equipment. So if they were bought on a 127 account code, we're going to be reclassifying that expense into the 126 account code. And that journal voucher is what's going to be used to remove those records out of FabWeb, consistent with how this process worked last time. Bernadette, you can forward that on. And so that's really phase 1. And we're asking folks to go out and really share this information with your purchasing people in your unit. We do have some communications drafted up with the help of the systems office purchasing folks that we hope to get around and get out. But we really do ask that you all at the unit, school, and college level reach out to your procurement people and let them know they should be using this new threshold shortly. And I think I did miss to assist in that. We do have business and finance news center announcements coming out in the days ahead. And so you will see that as we announce that to everybody at the university. But here trying to get in front of the issue here for you guys since we don't meet again till May. So the next phase is phase 2, and this will be the actual record disposal or disposal of those records in Banner. What happens is we have to lock out all of the systems for a day, and AITS has quite a process to do to dispose of those records in Banner. And not only that, but they also have to go into FabWeb and our systems, and they make adjustments for any of those items that are dropping from Banner items to being non-Banner items. They literally go through a process for all of our in-process records and update those records so that nothing else has to be done with any of those in-process FabWeb disposals or transfers that may be in process. So a lot happens on that day. It's just looks like a lockdown day to you all, but that is Thursday, April 13. That'll be the day those systems are locked down to complete that process. After that date, our property accounting office will email the list of those items that have been disposed to the unit's FabWeb unit rep and the biennial unit contact so that they know what items are to be removed or have been removed from their inventory and what items need to be retagged. There has been, administration has determined there is no change to the already published biennial inventory certification dates. UIC is set to complete certification March 31st and UIS on May 31st. If you can advance that. Thanks, Bernadette. So phase 2, is a lot of us and AITS, but it's ultimately you guys in the units retagging the equipment items that are dropping off of inventory. So units must retag those items with the red and white unnumbered State of Illinois, University of Illinois ownership label. And the university expectation is that you'll do this during the biennial inventory cycle when you're certifying after those items have been dropped. So again, we're not altering the timetables. We don't expect UIC to be able to really take advantage of this record reduction in the current 2023 cycle. So UIC will be able to retag all those items in the next biennial cycle in 2025, when you will be able to then take advantage of that smaller inventory list. For UIS and UIUC, those campuses, universities may have a little more time to load their lists or reload their lists and complete their inventory with the dropped items. If you do that, you must retag those items during that 23 cycle. So if you've loaded your inventory after April 13, those items have dropped, the expectation is you will be doing your retagging during your 2023 cycle. I hope that's clear. And Bernadette, I think you can advance. Switching gears, wanted to just present some updates of our ongoing ITPC project to enhance and improve biennial and FabWeb. We have a really exciting upcoming update here in probably the weeks ahead. In the spring is a mass update functionality within biennial inventory. This is going to be new functionality that will allow units and an easier way to update assets when they have one variable they need to update to many assets. So if you need to change a lab for a location code and you want all those assets on the same location code or have the same custodian, you can do those in mass in a much simpler way and not item by item. So looking forward to getting that out. And so we will get news center announcements out on that, as well as published job aids to assist with that. The much larger update in that ITPC project is we really do have a redesign of FabWeb updates to existing assets that's going to roll out likely in the fall of, I actually got that wrong. Sorry, Brent, if you're still on. That's the fall of 2023. And so that's going to be really a redesign where, you know, and if you're familiar at all with FabWeb, to make an update to an asset now, you don't get your list. You have to key in a precise P-tag number and find that item. The update's going to be a much more user-friendly. When you log in, you're going to have the option. It's going to notice and know your permissions and going to ask you, you know, what orgs and what data do you want to work with? And real excited to see that come to life. The rest of the list are things that are actually completed and just wanted to share. There's new asset search functionality that's usable by all FabWeb biennial users. And that's kind of a quicker way to view assets that don't belong to your specific chart org. Both those systems, FabWeb and biennial, will only let that system user view the items that they have access to in their chart and org. But we realize there are ways and times when people need to search all of Banner, and but some of those people don't have Banner access. So we created this asset search so that any of those users can now go in and search the entire university record of assets, whether those are disposed through a threshold change or otherwise, or if they're still active. So sure, we've gotten a lot of good feedback on that, but just wanted to share. And some of the other things we've had improved our locked record messaging in the applications. That was back in the summer. So if there are locked record issues in those systems, the users now actually see who those records are locked to for their own research. And we also did some significant bug fixes as part of this project. We had some serious problems with biennial attribute approvals, as well as biennial pushing the pending item updates into Banner when we extended all of those 20 and 21 biennial cycles. And so we were able to get AITS to make some good enhancements and fixes of some problems in there. And one last thing, just wanted to note, for any issues with locked records, whether your records are locked in transfers, disposals, or updates, if you need those reassigned to a new user, that's new functionality we in property now have. So do reach out to us if you have any questions about that.
And Jeff, I'm going to jump in. There are a couple questions in the chat. Magdalena is doing a great job of, she's already answered a couple of them within the chat. But one question would be, will the JV reclassification be completed by property accounting?
Yeah, the plan is like last time. We service, I'll say that we provide different services to different units. I'll say it that way, that some units like to do their own JVs. Some units prefer we do their JVs. We will, as we did in the last threshold change, complete the known and obvious JVs to reclassify items. And again, I think the real key is in the units, if you have any questions about that, reach out to your specific processor. We do have people assigned to specific units, and I'll cover that in a subsequent slide. So that's a great question. Thanks.
Yeah, and then there are just two more questions in the chat. So if someone has a pending new record in FabWeb, should they just leave it as is until they get further instructions, or go ahead and move forward with it?
Well, the answer to that depends on the dollar value. If it's an item greater than 2,500, you want to go ahead and submit that, right? If the item is under 2,500 and it needs to be reclassified, yeah, there's no reason to complete that record. Our office will be JVing that off, and if you don't see us doing that shortly, again, reach out to our office to make sure that either we remove that record or that you're making us aware that there's a record we haven't removed. So hope that's clear. And
then the final question is, does the new threshold have any impact on the furniture purchase restriction of $500 that matched the pre-2019 fixed asset amount?
I'm not sure what that refers to. If that's yeah, furniture is on the same equipment threshold as all other equipment. If that answers the question, we don't want to inventory any furniture less than 2,500 as well.
Okay. And then just for
Hey,
everybody.
so-
Oh,
Sorry,
Go-
sorry to interrupt.
no,
If
go ahead.
Aaron Rosenthal, Deborah, Jill, I think they should weigh in on that. That's more of a purchasing question.
$2,500.
And then just, there had been a question about, can people just leave the old P tags on just to signify that it's university equipment? And those do need to be removed and replaced with the red unnumbered stickers. And then if anybody needs any more of the red unnumbered labels, Magdalena gave instructions in the chat on how to order those from the iStore. And that's everything. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Stacy. And yeah, that is, we want to take off that old label, or in my mind, put the other label pretty much on top of it, because what we don't want is confusion by auditors coming through the university as to, is this item I'm looking at, is it on the banner inventory or not, right? We want to be able to look at that item and say, no, it's not. I can tell from the way it's tagged, this is no longer active in banner. So that's why we're doing that retagging, so that, and to assist the units in future biennials, right? If you go and see the tag on there, you're going to expect that's on inventory. So it's to help you guys track your inventory and manage it, as well as avoid audit comments and potential audit findings to our stakeholders. But great questions, thanks. And I'm ready to move on, Bernadette, if you are. Thanks. Wanted to mention, we know many units are still struggling with the segregation of duties rules and filling roles based on those requirements. And we know also how difficult of a task it is just to view those assigned roles based on, we get a lot of phone calls, emails from USCs and unit folks. So to further assist units and unit management and even the USCs to more easily see their assigned roles and unfilled roles, we worked with AITS to create some new reports that are on our website under our helpful documents that list, and there's just separate reports for unfilled roles and all filled roles. So these are actually hyperlinks in the PowerPoint. So when you guys get the PowerPoints, you can take those straight off the PowerPoints, but they are under helpful documents on our equipment management website. We also do have a revised department property contact spreadsheet. That's just slightly revised, and just wanted to share that spreadsheet, it kind of lists everybody's biennial cycles. It lists who's assigned as the unit contact and when those due dates are for that. It also lists then our UPAR new acquisition staff contact specifically assigned to your unit in column H. So again, if you have questions about, hey, are you going to do that JV for this item under 2,500 or am I? You can look at that department property contact spreadsheet in column H, find out who is assigned to your office, your specific unit from our office, and reach out to that person to either get that JV completed or to ask that question. Just wanted to share also, those reports are automated to be updated routinely, and I think all university employees will have access to view that. And hope you find that helpful in management of your roles moving forward. And really, apologies it took us that long to work through the process to get some of those resources out there to you, but hope you find them helpful. And I think we can move forward, Bernadette. So my staff, we've had no real changes in roles in the recent past, but I just want to clarify, my staff asked me to clarify some aspects about role assignment. Biennial inventory roles. It is required. We only have one person assigned per role. So there should only be one biennial inventory unit contact and one biennial inventory unit head for each org. And those must be assigned at the 3-digit org level. We do have some limited restricted units that do have 6-digit org access in biennial that we had to do to facilitate biennial inventory for them, and that's mostly limited to a lot of the folks in this call, the medical center and some of the administrative groups, but all others do it and assign at the 3-digit org level. That is contrast to the fab web roles and the people who do transactional additions and disposals. Units can assign multiple people to those roles as needed to cover the breadth of their orgs. And that's true for both the fab web unit rep role and the fab web approver role. And those have always been, must be assigned historically at the 3-digit org level. So just wanted to clarify that out there.
And Jeff, we do have another question in the chat. Someone says, I have ended some of these roles for staff that left over a year ago, and the tags still keep coming to that person. How can this be stopped? Oh, and it looks like Jason's on it, so maybe disregard. But if you can answer that for the larger group.
I think your item by item question, I'm not sure why we would be sending them to the wrong person. We do send those out. We maintain a list of the unit reps. And so we should be sending those to the unit reps so that they get their tags that they're expecting. And I guess if you find that isn't happening, I would suggest again, reaching out to that person who's your direct contact. You can reach out to Ron Janowski, the supervisor over new acquisitions, or feel free to reach out to me as all, and we'll be happy to get those lists updated if needed. We also do have assistance with our mailing, so it could be we have some occasional problems with that, but just appreciate if you do have problems with that, yeah, reach out and we'll resolve that as soon as we can. And Bernadette, I think I can move on. So where are we with biennial inventory? We mentioned no extensions for the 2023 cycles. UIC, here's the data for both UIC and UIS on where we are today. 186 units at UIC complete, only 27%. UIS, not due till May 31st, but only 17% with 14 units completed and certified. So really asking, I think need the assistance of you all in the business management roles to reach out to the folks who are assigned these roles and to push them to completion of the certification as needed. And I think you can move that forward, Bernadette. Really just want to talk a little bit about some changes, really a very small change in our new acquisitions world. And you can advance the slide, Bernadette. Really talking about our standard process for what we call taking records from units, right? Units, your fab web unit rep is supposed to be submitting those fab web records timely after the invoice is paid and those records show up in fab web. The expectation is you have really 30 days. You ought to be able to complete that record and submit that to property accounting so we can complete that and add that to the banner inventory. So if units haven't completed those records timely within 30 days, our office staffers, again, that person assigned to your unit, will send you an email notification at 30 days noting here are the records that you haven't submitted timely. And basically those emails are giving you another 30 days to complete those records and noting, either reach out to us to let us know there's a delay, or at the 60-day time frame, we will take those records and complete them, so that we can try to maintain compliance with state regulations for how quickly these things need to be done. So that's a standard that our office has always done. And this 30 and 60-day notification and taking has been the standard for many, many years. What's changing is we want to add the financial manager into those communications. Right now, we really just send those notifications to the FabWeb unit rep and the biennial unit contact. We're going to expand that email communication to the financial manager as well, hoping to get some more exposure across the unit to the units that aren't submitting their records timely. So just wanted to make you aware of that change if you're a financial manager, why you might be getting some additional communications about equipment in the days, weeks, months, and years ahead.
And Jeff, just a heads up that we're running behind, so maybe just another minute or so.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. I'll be quick.
Okay.
July 14 is our year-end deadline for submitting all FY23 equipment records. So again, as that year-end date approaches, the 30-60-day timetable goes away because we have the requirement through state regulations to get those records done in the year they're bought and paid for. So next slide, please. And really just wanted to mention a couple of upcoming activities, and you can fast forward to the next one, is our biennial inventory unit contact certificate course. This will be rolling out in January of 2024, similar to the FabWeb unit rep certificate course that came out. It'll be required to both gain and maintain access. This will be the January 24 timing is so that we can complete all the 23 cycles, and they'll be closed and yet before the 25 cycles open, so that all units, all universities have the same requirement. So we're looking forward to getting that course done, and as that date approaches, you'll see communications about that. And just one other quick update, and that is relative to data security and some updates that'll be happening in that realm. For university data wiping, IT policy is getting updated to provide some clarity and expanded options for data elimination. As part of that, our property policies will be changing to reflect those updates, as well as we'll update the scrub labels for IT tech support to use when they're doing that data wiping or data elimination. And we will ultimately try to get those new options into the FabWeb disposals process and into the little check boxes. So those are all better synced and organized, and policy should be finalized and communicated on this in the weeks ahead. So you'll likely see something come out probably in April. And with that, just have a couple of slides here for contacts if you need to reach out to our office, and a list of resources if you're not that familiar with navigating our equipment management website and our online resources. So thanks, and happy to take any other questions.
It doesn't look like we have any questions in the chat right now, but Stacy will continue to keep an eye on that. So thank you, Jeff, for those great updates. And we will now hear from Philippe Pruspish from System Office Shared Services with an update on the OBFS website redesign project.
Thank you, Ginger, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me and present to you about the OBFS website redesign. My name is Philippe. As Ginger mentioned, I work in System Office Shared Services. I'm part of the redesign team. So you may have heard about this effort for quite some time. We announced a communication, we sent a communication about this a year ago when we first kicked this project. So I'll just update you on what's been done so far. So we'll talk about work completed. I'll mention where we are right now and what are our next steps. So as you may have seen some communications inviting you to surveys and focus groups in the past, this was to conduct a content inventory. We had to verify what content on the OBFS website needs to be updated, what is out of date and needs to be removed. And we also noticed a lot of orphan pages which no one owned. So there were hundreds of those which we'll be purging as well. So after that content inventory, we reached out again to our community. Many of you participated in that effort as well, to really find out what kind of a navigational structure would work for you. OBFS website has been around for quite some time and it's somewhat outdated. So we wanted to make sure that the new website is up to the modern standards, the way that users interact with websites these days, and more importantly, applicable to you and your needs. So the new navigational structure, after a variety of engagement with audiences, was proven to be more effective if organized by subject and topic versus than organizational nature of the university. So things like buying, paying, acquiring are more of your interest rather than looking for which unit is responsible for certain process. So we'll be organizing the new navigational structure based on the activities that you typically are engaged with in your roles, rather than the way that university administration is structured. We've also just recently invited you to comparative test, where you had to fulfill certain tasks. That test was to verify which navigational structure is the most optimal for our community. We gave you certain tasks and we divided you into two different groups, and half of you had certain tasks, the other one had different. And based on that comparative test, we will now assess through all of the data and come up with the navigational structure that is most viable to our users. We will continue with our community engagement. You may have just recently received an invite to a customer advisory group. That group will be meeting on a monthly basis starting on the 31st of March. And we will want to keep you as our customers updated on the progress on OBFS website redesign, but also we'll have a lot of questions for you. There are a lot of areas where we simply do not know whether it's better to go left or to go right. So we'll present you with a lot of dilemmas that we may have while organizing content and finalizing the designs to make sure that we are constantly engaged with you and what our users require. We are also having a parallel group, which is stakeholder group. We want to make sure that our content owners, who are the primary content owners on the new Business and Finance website, are also in agreement with the new design and the way the content will work on the website, but they're also engaged with what the community wants. So these two groups will be exchanging the information and making sure that the new website is the most up-to-date and, of course, relevant to your needs. We'll continue presenting the updates to the BMG meetings like this one, and you will start seeing a lot more communications. A lot of work was being done behind the scenes kind of thing, because we were doing a lot of data gathering and a lot of design work. So there was not much visible content to update you with. But now we are in the phase 2 where we are seeing a lot of information that will be relevant to you. So those will be coming to you as well. And there's also a status page, which is live as of today, and I'll show it to you in just a moment. So I'll just go to the next steps really quick. Once the design has been completed, we will go through usability testing. We'll test 2 environments. We'll test the production, which is the current OBFS website environment, and we'll also test the new environment, so the future website. We'll create a sandbox, and we'll invite many of you from this group to play with the website in a sandbox environment to validate whether the new structure is truly working. And we also have some preliminary designs, so I can just move those really quickly.
And Philippe, were you presenting? Because I don't know about anyone else, but I was seeing, oh, you are now. Okay, thank you.
Yes, I saw the presentation being moving on my screen, but
Okay,
it was frozen on this one. But yes, so this is a template of a mock-up how the new landing page would look like. The content pages will be organized in the navigation structure that I mentioned with the areas of activities that you would be conducting will be here. And then you will see a lot of content that will be owned by multiple owners. So maybe purchasing, payables, policy office, owning content on one web page, and it'll be tagged, it'll be color coded so that you will, if you will ever have any questions, you will know where to go for the information that you need. And of course, there will be, we are also thinking about organizing a search so that you can actually see financial areas through tiles and quickly go to the most visited areas. Same thing with applications. You'll be able to access iBuy, Chrome River, and other Contracts Plus and other applications through the use of tiles. Because again, we noticed through the analytics that applications are one of the most sought after links on the current website. So again, like I mentioned, there is a new there's a new status page on our BFS website. It doesn't want to load on me right now, of course, but yes, if you click this link here, you will continuously see updates. We are in phase 2 right now, so this area will be changing, of course, on a regular basis. So feel free to visit here as often as you desire, and you will see updates on the project as well. Time frame. We are hoping, we haven't announced it just yet. We are hoping to be done with the designs and implementation of the new design by the end of the summer. But that will not be the end. We will not stop there. There are thousands of pages on OBFS website, and we'll be migrating a lot of content. So that migration will take between the end of summer, early fall, all the way through the calendar year. So you will start seeing changes on the OBFS website. Pretty much at the end of August, there will be new designs implemented, and content will be changing and being moved. But you will also see at the same time that some of the web pages are still with the old design. That is content migration timeframe that I'm talking about, where we'll be migrating thousands of web pages, working with our stakeholders, making sure that everything is up to date and as functional as we are hoping it to be. At the same time, we'll continue reaching out to you for for other surveys and focus group validating the results. And at the same time, again, we welcome all of you to register and participate in our customer advisory group. Communication went out yesterday and today, and you are more than welcome to register. Those meetings will be on a regular basis every month. So feel free to attend anytime you'd like. Feel free to ask us any questions you have on those meetings as well. And we look forward to discussing the progress with you then. So I'll pause now for any questions you may have about this effort.
and I don't see anything yet in the chat, Philippe.
Great, thank you. Before I finish, I will just pivot to another subject really quick. CBA path. You may have heard from us quite a bit about that. We've paused last year to redesign the CBA path, and we are kicking off this year with the redesigned certification track. The communication will be going out today and tomorrow, reminding you that the registration opens tomorrow, and it will be open all the way until April 7th. So feel free to register for the new CBA path. We'll be kicking it this fall, and we look forward to having you engage with the new program. So thank you very much, and hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Philippe. And Bernadette, did you want to pick up presenting again? There we go. So next up, we are going to hear from Stacy Balmas and Brian Zump from our System Policy Office with some business and financial policy updates.
Thank you, Ginger. Just a few updates since the last time we met. The Policy Office is reviewing Policy 8, cell phone and data plan expenses with subject matter experts to make it easier for pagers and other one-way communication devices to be approved. Right now, mobile communication equipment such as cell phones require college-level chief executive approval, and that will not change. However, the proposed change would allow one-way communication devices to be purchased after receiving only business manager approval. Moving to section 12, as you heard from Jeff, the property accounting threshold amount is moving from 1,000 to 2,500, and we are changing that throughout the policy manual. And again, mostly that's in section 12, and you will see that updated in the manual shortly. Discussion continues with subject matter experts on the possible expansion of electronic codes. Again, these are a form of Amazon electronic gift card. And we're seeking to expand them beyond their current use. And right now, their current use is solely for a human research subject incentive. A lot of thoughtful consideration is being given to the possible ramifications of this expansion and the processes that are available to implement this expanded offering. And I will update the group when we have a draft version available for open comments. And then finally, policy continues its first year of the revised annual evaluation process with individual meetings with subject matter experts. We are now moving on to our second group, including sections 2, 11, 13, and 16. And we just completed section 10, cash handling, and you will see those updates in the policy manual coming soon, along with an upcoming announcement. With regard to section 10, there were no substantive changes to business processes. Should we end up, as a part of this process, end up having substantive changes to any business processes, we will likely need to move those into a more detailed review process, as well as perhaps making them available for open comment. But again, as part of the section 10 update, just a lot of clarifications and language changes to make it easier to understand. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian. And for some reason, there it is. My video wasn't coming back on. Thanks for the policy updates. And we will now hear from Melissa Plotner regarding updates from university payables.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So I will jump right into a few quick Chrome River updates. I promise we've been busy behind the scenes, but we are making the invoice module data available in the warehouse, and that date was proposed to be in April, but the warehouse team has been actively working to gather all of the requirements and to get that data in. And so that date got pushed up to March 29th. I also wanted to let everyone know that we're actively working on our year-end instructions that will be coming out. They will be slightly different this year, but we have a lot of testing yet to complete in order to get those out to users. So just be aware, hopefully, in the next few weeks, you'll be hearing more from us regarding year-end information. And so I know it seems early, but I can't talk about it enough. If, you know, as you're getting card transactions in and things that are moving forward as we get closer to that year end, just try to keep that date in mind, because the more things that we can get cleaned up now, the better off we'll be when we get closer to June 30th. So as Aaron touched on in the beginning, the majority of our discussion today is centered around a new payables discussion group. It's a brand new group that we formed in hopes that we can partner more closely with all university users. And so we're going to use this opportunity to provide, strategic, quick training sessions, but also have time available for questions that come up, whether that be related to policy or procedure or how to utilize some features in our different systems. I don't want this to be solely focused on Chrome River. So this is going to touch on all of the different sections within UPay. And so Philippe and team, Derek Briles also has been very helpful in setting up a knowledge base page. So this information was included in the communication that Aaron touched on at the very beginning of today's meeting. But on this knowledge base page, you can register for a session. You can see what our upcoming topics are going to be. You can also sign up for the email group, so you receive notifications on when the meetings are being scheduled. But the most important component to me is that this also provides the opportunity for you to submit topics that you would like addressed in the training session. So we're going to try to keep those trainings to 25-30 minutes and then leave the remaining 30 minutes or so of the time slot for questions and different things. But we have left this really open for any user of the university to attend. And we hope that by posting these topics in advance, you can determine whether or not that's a topic that you interact with, whether that would be beneficial for you to attend. You know, and you don't have to come to everyone. It's not a standing meeting on your calendar. So our first discussion group will be meeting on April 18th. It's from 2 to 3 in the afternoon. And so on the page, it's titled as the payables overview. So in this very first session, we're just going to go over all the different sections that are housed within UPay. Those sessions are going to be conducted by the supervisors of those units. So you may be able to put some names and faces together with people that you interact with. And then we're just going to go over a brief overview of the different responsibilities that those units touch. While payables is one big unit, we do have several different varied functions that we don't always interact with on a daily basis. So if there is not any questions for today, I'm sorry, Ginger, I can't see the chat.
No, there's nothing in the chat.
All right, well, that is my updates for today. If anybody has any questions, I'll be hanging around and I'm happy to answer those. And thank you for having me today.
Thanks, Melissa. Great updates. And now we are actually going to take a 5-minute break. So please be back. I've got 1:58, 1:59. It's almost 2. So if we could be back no later than 2:05, that would be great. See you soon. Back by now. And thanks for starting the recording again, Stacy. Let's see. We will now hear from Chicago and Springfield Purchasing and Contract Management offices. So updates from Deborah Matlock, Aaron Rosenthal, and Jill Menezes. So take it away. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ginger.
Yep.
So I'm Deborah Matlock, and I'm the Executive Director of UIC Purchasing. And of course, with me are Aaron Rosenthal, who's our Senior Associate Director, as well as Jill Menezes, who is the Director of UIS Purchasing and Contract Management. If ever there are any questions about purchases or any of the applications that we use, iBuy and Contracts Plus, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. The thing that we want to talk about today primarily is FY24 renewals. As we are rapidly approaching July 1st, 2023, that is the beginning of the fiscal year 24 period. And so it is incumbent upon us and you to make sure that we have the appropriate purchases in place, or at a minimum that they're at least in process. So the FY24 accounting period was opened in December. So please submit any FY24 requisitions as soon as possible. Please remember to allow sufficient time for us to complete any procurement processes that are required and for any necessary approvals to be obtained. primarily for anything that is $250,000 or more as a requisition, those purchases and renewals, amendments, those all require the approvals of chief legal, chief executive, which is the president, and chief financial officer, which is the comptroller. All of us do have delegated signature authority to complete those renewals. Complete those approvals. But we do need to have those requisitions submitted timely. For more specific information, including procedures to renew or establish annual orders, you can please see the communication that was issued, and it's identified in the chat in the slide deck. Let's remind everyone that I should be used for all requisitions and purchase orders. This includes both regular and standing orders. Regular orders should be initiated with the I by purchase requisition form, which is a new form that is within the application that was live 12/20/20. And this incorporates the information that is required regarding small purchases, including whether multiple quotes were obtained. Please note that that has become a much bigger area of attention for auditors. And so we are reminding you that multiple quotes, which means more than one, quote should be obtained, or you should indicate in the purchase requisition form in that area why multiple quotes maybe weren't obtained. But certainly small purchases at $10,000 or above should be documented and supported by multiple quotes. And then standing orders should be initiated with the I by standing order form. In 2020, as part of the I by optimization effort, we also were able to have payment terms other than net 30 in iBuy, and the information that specifies non-net 30 or non-standard payment terms can be added in the summary tab of the iBuy requisition in the billing section under billing options. And you can please consult the job aid, or you can call UIC purchasing if you have specific questions, or UIS purchasing. And this is the real reminder. Effective September 20th of last year, non-conforming invoices and POs are now addressed as after the fact procurements. They are initiated in an I by purchase requisition form. There is no need for a banner requisition for what were previously identified as non-conforming purchase orders or invoices. We can, in fact, and do have the capability to document an after the fact or out of sequence purchase or invoice. That means if an invoice was received prior to the purchase order being issued, or if supplies were in fact received or services were rendered prior to having a purchase order or contract in place. So please pay attention if you have questions about that. There's also a job aid regarding the utilization of the after the fact section in the purchase requisition form. Please note that you cannot amend, extend, or renew an expired contract. So iBuy recs must be submitted timely. So if in fact you have a purchase order or a contract that, or an award that is expiring, we should be on top of those. But the requisitions that are necessary for a purchase order to issue for the upcoming fiscal year must be in place prior to July 1st, particularly if there is an award, a contract, or a purchase order which is expiring. So don't wait until those deadlines. Don't wait until July 1st to submit the recs. We are superheroes, but we can't do everything. Okay, so please be mindful of that. And then note that we are experiencing a very high volume of transactions at this time and do expect that to continue until the end of this fiscal year. So be patient with us. We do try and turn around requisitions within about a 48-hour period. But if they are in fact attached to a renewal that for which we may require a customer signature, or if we need to be able to publish that renewal amendment or extension to the procurement bulletin, please allow sufficient time for us to execute those processes. And I don't know if Aaron or Jill want to talk.
Oh, sure, Jill. Oh, sorry, Deborah. We'll chime in here. Deborah previously mentioned standing orders, and this is a concept that there is sometimes still some confusion around. A true standing order is used when your unit has an ongoing need for a supplier service on an as-needed basis throughout the fiscal year. These are going to be situations where you may not know exactly how much of something that you'll be buying. And the example I like to give is pest control services. Hopefully we don't actually have pests in our offices, but you may have a need for pest control services and you don't know how frequently you're going to need them to come out and provide service. It's truly going to be as needed. What that standing order allows you to do is establish a purchase order for a bucket of money on an as needed basis. As needed is the key word here, and without any specific commitment to a vendor. We had an instance recently where a department reached out where they really had a need that was probably a standing order. They issued a regular order to the vendor and they were surprised that the vendor provided the full amount of the order. If the standing order is utilized, you can avoid that situation. You're just creating that bucket of money and potentially calling in those orders as you need them. And the amount will be the estimated total for all of the items that you expect could occur. A few additional tips and tricks to keep in mind this renewal season. This time of year, the iBuy accounting date field becomes especially important because it denotes the fiscal year that the purchase order will be applied to. So by default, if that field is left blank, the accounting date is going to default to the date the PO is being approved by purchasing. And most of the year, that's okay. But this time of year, if you're submitting a requisition now and it's intended to apply to fiscal year 24, you please must ensure that the accounting date field is filled in with the date of July 1st, 2023 or later. For an FY24 standing order, you're going to be using that July 1st date to denote the start date of your standing order. Jill, is there anything you wanted to add from a UIS perspective?
No, I second everything that Deborah and Aaron has said. And one thing that's on this slide here is we really encourage units to search out diverse vendors to satisfy the multiple quotes requirement. The university does have a requirement to utilize diverse vendors, and we need your assistance in utilizing them and working with them. You may find that there are some excellent diverse vendors out there, and if you need some assistance in locating some, please reach out to the purchasing departments and we'll be able to kind of help guide where you need to look and maybe even know some vendors that you can reach out to.
No, thanks, Jill. Well stated. I hand it back to Deborah for a final public service announcement.
As Aaron Carter referenced, and in anticipation of the new payables discussion group, we want to please remind you to be mindful and become familiar with and adhere to policies regarding business purchases. And the reason that I'm doing this PSA is because in a lot of cases, business purchases are not utilizing iBuy, and they may be using a P card, or they may be in fact using your personal funds for which reimbursement will be sought. So I've highlighted a few policies on the OBFS website that you should pay particular attention to, because although, and this is not a comprehensive list, but the possibility does exist that reimbursement may not be approved. And also, if purchasing approval is sought,
Yeah, a couple questions in there we can.
Okay.
I'm
And
honored.
and if, I'm sorry, I did pay attention to the chat. I'm sorry, I got distracted. But that we, you know, we do want you to be very mindful of what the policies say, that expenses can be authorized by unit heads or delegates, but in most cases, those approvals must be obtained prior to the purchase being made. There are various exceptions to policies as well as restricted purchases. And so I want everyone to just be aware of these particular policies as well as the policies in general. Do note that cash purchases that exceed the dollar threshold, which is $499 for most items. There's a $4,999 limit on some other purchases. If they exceed that threshold or if they do not comply with policy, reimbursement may be rejected and the individual will assume that responsibility. Okay. And with
Thank
that,
you, Deborah.
you're
Well,
going to address the
any
question.
questions? Yeah, I see there's a couple questions in the chat, starting with one from Ted, who was asking, does a standing order amount have to be over $5,000? That's an interesting question, Ted. There were some guidelines long ago that seemed to try and steer things away from standing orders under $5,000. Subsequent to when those guidelines were issued, we learned and reinforced that there are legitimate circumstances where there may be an appropriate need for a small dollar standing order. There is no prohibition on standing orders under $5,000. We would just ask that you please validate that it is in fact legitimately a standing order. Again, that it's something that's needed on an as-needed basis with an undefined quantity. Notably, you can pay out multiple invoices on a regular order. If you know pest control's coming out once a month, you know, you could have a regular order with a quantity of 12. The standing order should please be reserved for true standing order situations. Great question, Ted. Got one from Jessica. Can you please advise on a prepaid PO? This option is now available on iBuy. Does it inform UPay that the payment is not in net 30? Now, Deborah, that relates to one of your slides. You want to take that one?
What?
Non-net 30.
As long as you have in fact also indicated in the non-net 30 payment terms that it is a prepayment is required, there is also a special payment request form that should be completed in conjunction with the iBuy requisition. And I don't know.
And thank you, Deborah, and I appreciate that you emphasized a very important part of this, which is that there still is that special payment request form that gets submitted to university payables where appropriate. The non-net 30 information on the requisition alone will not facilitate the special payment. It has to be coupled with a special payment request form to university.
So for things like deposits, prepayments, those types of really special non-net 30s do need to be documented with a special payment request form, because the utilization of only the iBuy information, the iBuy requisition, is not sufficient to inform you.
Thank you, Deborah. There's a question in here. Would you please remind me how to renew an FY23 order? There could be various tentacles to that, but I'm glad that you raised the question, and it's a great place to put in the pitch for the document that is linked to in the PowerPoint. There are the FY24 renewal guidelines that we link to, has very detailed instructions on the different considerations that go into place. If you have a specific question or need some further assistance, please feel free. I know your UIC needs to follow up with us offline.
Yep, and you could send it to the UIC purchasing at uillinois.edu email address.
We're probably coming up on time. I'll answer the last one really quickly. For sole providers of goods and services, do we still need to attach 3 quotes for purchases over $10,000? Within that iBuy purchase requisition form, in a circumstance like that, there is the ability to select a radio button and provide the reason why the 3 quotes was not possible or practical. Thank you. For additional assistance, please feel free to contact your friendly purchasing department in Chicago or Springfield. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron and Deborah and Jill. So I don't see, oh, one more thing. Oh, Jill, did you want to make a comment about what you put in the chat?
I was trying to find it a little bit faster, but I did find the page. If you guys want, that is linked to the renewals page and how to process them for Chicago and UIS. Of course, Urbana and System are on there also, but there's a link for you guys. Gives you a little bit more information.
Wonderful. Thanks for doing that, Jill. And now we are going to turn our attention to the Office of Procurement Diversity and Dale Morrison, who will introduce us to VSI and Rod Young.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Dale Morrison, and I am the Associate Director with the System Office of Procurement Diversity. And I think all of you are aware of us and what we do, so I won't go into that. But I will like to thank all of you all for your support for our program, for the Office of Procurement Diversity, and the mission of utilizing more diverse businesses throughout the university. And I do want to give a special thanks to Jill, who also promoted the use of diverse businesses in your small purchases. So as you can see, we work very closely together with the purchasing departments. We don't exist without them, and we really don't exist without them and their support. So I want to thank all of the purchasing departments at UIC, UIC, and UIS for supporting our initiatives. And of course, you all as the purchasing departments. Before I get into the presentation and introducing VSI, I do want to point out that an announcement just went out today. See here? Sent out through the Business and Finance News through the University of Illinois system as part of our monthly outreach events, virtual events. This month is, if you don't know, is Women's History Month. And women, of course, are included in our diversity initiatives. So this month on Tuesday, March 28th, 2023, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., we have a virtual Zoom presentation. Our speaker this month is the Executive Director with the Federation of Women Contractors. Her name is Jamie Neely. Wonderful human being, very insightful, a great leader. She's been with the Federation of Women Contractors for a couple of years now, and we've been doing a lot of work with her. So our ask is that you log in and Zoom in with us on March 28th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for this virtual Zoom presentation and support this event and learn about the role that women and women businesses play in our society and in our business community and at the University of Illinois. So again, please, if you have the time, please join us. You should have received the invitation. I think possibly today. If you haven't gotten it today, you'll probably see it in your inbox pretty soon. With that said, I'm going to move over to the Office of Procurement Diversity and the Diverse Vendor Highlight, which is VSI. Rod Young is not available today, so I will do my best to represent VSI and B&H during this presentation. We actually just had a meeting or kind of an outreach event with UIC purchasing this past week, which went very successful. And we thought we should introduce these companies not only to the purchasing department at UIC, but also to you all, because you all are the ones who are going to be doing the purchasing. And you should be aware of what contracts we have available, especially our diverse vendors. VSI is a MBE, BEP certified firm. And in this case, they partnered with B&H. So you may be aware of B&H already. They're known for their photo, video and audio type of products that they sell. You see them on the internet in different places. Well, VSI and B&H have partnered together, and they also serve on the IPEC contract to provide what we call creative technology. So it goes beyond just photo and video and audio. It's more comprehensive than that. Again, Rod Young sends his condolences that he couldn't be here. He had an emergency that popped up. So in this case, I will be representing his company. So in this case, who are we? Again, this is a partnership between VSI. VSI is actually the local representative for B&H. So all of your purchases and all of your needs, your account questions and so forth will be going through VSI, which is again a diverse business. So what is creative technology? Like I said, it's beyond photo and video and audio. It includes a number of different products. Those products, can we go back a slide? Yeah, those products include IT equipment, computers, peripherals, audio visual, cameras, TV displays, anything electronic. Like they said, if it plugs in, then that's what it is. There is a tremendous, catalog of products that is offered and services that are offered under this contract. And again, by leveraging this contract, you are supporting a Black MBE Black-owned business, and we greatly appreciate that. Next slide. So what does this contract include? Includes, of course, the sourcing of those particular products that we can discuss. There's another page about that. But they also do design work and also integration processes. So different services that you may need in terms of designing a new space, a new room. You may not know exactly what products that you need. You may not be up to date on the most technologically advanced products that are out there, because I know I'm not. These things change all the time because technology is always increasing and changing. But this contract and our representatives from BSI can help you with that. They can help you select products, they can help you design it, and they can help you integrate it into your existing systems. Next slide. So here is just a kind of an overview, again, of what we talked about, a little more visual in terms of what that technology resource is. It's more than just photography. It's all these different types of products, TVs, displays, audio visual equipment. We talked about storage devices, optics, cameras, and so forth. $590,000 technical product, 590,000 technical products. So that's quite a bit. Again, this is an IPEC contract, so this is available to all the campuses, including the other state higher education, institutions of higher education across the state. Next slide, please. So next question is, where can we buy it? Or where can we reach out to VSI, and where can we buy these products and services from? Well, of course, iBuy. We talked about that earlier. There is pretty simple. Everybody knows how to log into iBuy. And there is actually a couple of links that you can find VSI and the B&H contract. Next slide, please. I think we added it on the next page. If we can move on to one more slide and then maybe come back to this one. We took a little screenshot. So when you log into your iBuy system, you'll see a number of places where you can identify this particular contract. Number one is under the showcases tab. Under diverse suppliers, you'll see VSI, and it says AV Creative Solutions. If you click that box, that also takes you to punch out catalog. Another location is a little bit further down the screen. If you scroll down, it's under audio, visual, and creative solutions. And you see VSI again, and it says B&H Photo Diverse Supplier. So you can click either one of those two places in iBuy to place an order. And if we go back a slide now, we can kind of wrap it up. Contact information is here for Mr. Young, who couldn't be with us, but he has his phone number there, his email, and his website all provided.
Hey, I can interject with a very quick plug
Thank
from
you,
UIC and UIS purchasing. This is a tremendous opportunity to increase utilization of diverse suppliers. We've had a meeting already with this vendor on campus. I think there's going to be more coming soon to connect with some of our core stakeholders, but an incredibly broad portfolio of offerings, just like Dale mentioned, commitment to being price competitive and providing excellent service. Thanks, Dale, for showing the mechanism within iBuy and how to purchase. So the catalog, that should be very straightforward. We're also working closely with Office of Procurement Diversity and the vendor to explore ways we can further highlight the visibility within iBuy and on that iBuy home screen. But please, if your unit purchases any of the offerings that Dale highlights, and that's a whole lot of things, so most likely your unit purchases something, please consider VSI as opposed to just going to the vendors that you're used to going to. This is really an opportunity for your unit to support diversifiers. So, thanks, Dale. Sorry for.
No, thank you so much, Aaron. And again, Aaron has been an integral part of this contract and making sure we get the visibility that we need and really supporting this contract. So we, again, appreciate that, Aaron. And again, to all of you out there, thanks again for, supporting our diversity initiatives. It can't happen without you. And so you'll hear more from us, and thank you for your attention today. And at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Ginger. Thank you.
Thanks, Dale, and thanks for filling in for Rod. And Aaron, thank you for the additional comments. That was nice to hear. So our next topic is identity and access management, and we will hear from Jeff Dumeyer. Jeff, the floor is yours.
All right, if you don't mind, I will take over screen sharing. How about that?
There you go.
And ta-da. All right, now we're back in business. So I'm Jeff Domeyer. I'm actually from UIC, and I'm with Identity and Access Management over there. Assistant director, kind of got that whole introduction a little bit backwards, but hopefully the information got across right there. So without further ado, why are we here? This is really the start of our conversations. We're in a socialization phase of a effort that's actually spanning across each of the universities, the system offices, UIH, various research organizations. We're trying to be as inclusive as possible because this is a global issue, a global thing across our entire U of I system. That we're running into friction either in certain spots or there's things that we could do to help improve our processes that we've been waiting to do within this space. So our goal here is basically to start this dialogue and see what we can kind of learn from each other and discuss our challenges that we're having and go from there. So here we go. Where am I going to? All right. Sorry, I have two screens going on, so side by side. Our expectation, though, today is that we're not actually going to be solving any problems. This is just to be able to collect some of the ideas that we have, things like that. And I will be providing an email address and other forms of communication at the end of the slides so that you'll be able to provide those. And we may have some time to actually chat a little bit so that we can collect it online. So please feel free to take notes, and I'll get to the chat as soon as I can after this. So what is identity and access management? And like all good things, we use analogies, and some of these kind of fall apart a little bit, but let's go on a trip here. And we're going to pick some place nice and sunny. Maybe we're going to Hawaii. I don't know what the weather is in everybody's various locations, but it's kind of cloudy and rainy over here. So Hawaii seems like a good idea for me. So from an identity and access management perspective, the first thing that we really need to do in order to be able to pursue our trip is to be able to identify ourselves, because we're walking through the door, we're getting up to TSA, they're going to be asking us a couple things. They're going to ask us for our driver's license or some type of government ID to verify who we are, and then kind of our purpose for why we're walking through the door. So we have our boarding pass that we have to provide as well. So then from there, we're going to get bombarded by a whole bunch of radiation. And after we survive that and they inspect us all, which is kind of related to that, a posture check from an identity and access management perspective. We want to make sure that this interaction is something that we all feel comfortable with. From a business perspective, the reason for why you're interacting with a system or a process, and we want to kind of make sure that no unsavory actors are walking through the door with our information, maybe stealing our credentials or the other fun things that we get to type in every day for multi-factor authentication, going through Duo, that kind of thing. From there, we're probably going to hit another checkpoint, and this is something that we're trying to do as well, is have a continuous evaluation of this whole process. So it's not just through the front doors, but it's also while you're interacting with these systems or while you're trying to get onto the plane. So you're going to hit the agents just before boarding the plane. They're going to verify your boarding pass again. You're going to get on the plane itself, and over there, it might be more of a passive check. But the stewardesses are kind of going around making sure that the seats that are supposed to be empty are empty, and the ones that are supposed to be filled are filled, that kind of thing, just to make sure you're not late for your plane. And then hopefully we get all the way over to Hawaii. And then the end of the process that we'd like to clean up as well is making sure that we're able to deplane, get out of the corresponding airport, and then get on with our business. So hopefully that analogy kind of made a little bit of sense and how it relates to identity and access management as a function. So where are we at right at the moment? Well, there's a series of phases that we're working through, and we've been working on this for about a year so far, and we're up to the socialization and preparation phase. So far, we've been collecting and analyzing from more of a technical perspective, but at this point, we're now trying to specifically draw in stakeholders and partners that we can utilize in order to get the business perspective of what are our real challenges that we need to be able to make sure that we solve as well as the technical challenges. This is all in preparation that we're going to start in July for our execution, and hopefully we can gather feedback and ideas during this process that will be included into that effort. So we went through a strategic initiatives process from each of the universities and the other groups that I mentioned at the beginning. And out the end of it, we decided that there are probably 3 major domains that we wanted to invest in. One area I think everybody experiences on a daily basis, and that's going to be for single sign-on experience itself. So when you're logging into that first system, I think in the previous presentation, we were talking about logging into iBuy, to make sure that that experience is consistent, whether you're from UIS, UIC, logging into corresponding systems from other universities, to make sure that that is a very regular, very consistent experience, and hopefully easy to accomplish as well. We would like to remove some friction from that process. Some of the times that we want to be able to go out there and say, hey, we would like to get to a passwordless state so you're not having to type in your credentials, or you're not having to perform multi-factor through 3 different systems that you interacted with in sequential order. So trying to remove as much friction there as possible and make it as easy as possible for you to get in, all the while making sure that we can identify who you are, we have confidence that who you are, and that we understand what kind of access that you're going to be acquiring while you're logging into a particular system, so that we can evaluate to make sure that that makes sense, so that you're not logging into the HR system at 3 o'clock in the morning from, across the seas or whatnot. That might not make a whole lot of sense, and we'd like to make sure that that doesn't happen, or provide an opportunity for us to reevaluate that interaction and double check that you are who you are and from where you're supposed to be, that kind of thing. Another domain that we're looking at is within lifecycle governance or lifecycle management. This is for the onboarding and the lifecycle of an individual, and the separation of their affiliation with the university or with the system. So from like an HR perspective, going through the hiring process, making sure that we can identify what kind of access people should get when they first start, and then moving on from there, kind of lining people up with their job responsibilities and being able to get probably that 80-20 rule of getting 8% of the access that they need to be able to be proficient within their job on day 1, that kind of thing. And then a sticky point within higher ed is the deprovisioning aspect of it, and making sure that when folks are changing jobs or leaving the university, that that access is cleaned up. The last domain that we're looking at is more of a governance or a policy related perspective, making sure that we're able to make clear and consistent decisions around how this should all work, being able to communicate that effectively, and monitoring any changes that we're introducing into this whole ecosystem to make sure that it's providing the desired outcomes. So there's a couple slides here, and we're trying to build one as well for this group. And this one's more from like an HR perspective. And There's some things that might resonate with certain individuals. So when we were talking to human resources, as an example, something that they were doing was creating a checklist for while they're onboarding an individual and going, yep, I have to perform these activities in this system. I have to define their supervisor over into this other system, and so on and so forth. And when we evaluate those checklists, there's going to be certain things that we can say, we can help out coordinating those efforts, moving that data between systems and making sure that it's consistent everywhere. For this particular group, maybe things that will resonate are more from a making sure that we can identify our vendors and making sure that they're not necessarily an employee at the same time, or have another relationship that might be a little bit more interesting that we need to be aware of, so that we have a consistent and single identity for individuals as much as possible, and kind of providing that unified way for those individuals to be able to interact with our systems. So on here, there's various things that might resonate with you or not, but we would love to have more of a conversation to figure out what are the things that are important to you that identity and access management can potentially help out with. So from identity verification aspects to the making sure that information about the individual is consistent everywhere, to things such as separation of duty policies. So making sure that those vendors are also not being paid, and you're filling out your the various financial related documents, paying them again in a different way that might be in violation of certain rules or whatnot. So we do have capabilities to be able to find those and enforce those, but we need your help in being able to identify where we can do that. Another aspect that we've worked with is our research stakeholders, and these are various other things that have been identified that we could potentially partner with and improve. So again, we'll just distribute the slides, and we want to help make another one that is specific for our for the folks that are among this call. So with that, we're really asking for help here, and an email address for digitalrisk@uillinois.edu is available there to provide any ideas, things that you are aware of that are introducing friction. It could be something as simple as I have to log in with a different kind of username and password for all of these different kinds of systems. We'd like help to be able to make those things all consistent. It could be something difficult, which I can't imagine right at the moment off the top of my head, but love to figure out something with you there. So there is a survey onto there. You can't really necessarily click on that, but when we distribute the slides, you'll be able to get to there and be able to fill that out. It's not very invasive, so I encourage you to all do that. And we're going to be working on getting some other kinds of, whether they're office hours or virtual meetings, things available so that we can have more of an in-depth discussion on these topics. And that's the end of the slides, and
It doesn't look like there's anything in the chat yet. But if anything does come in later, we will definitely follow up on that. So thank you, Jeff, for providing those great updates. Now, our final agenda item pertains to UIC only. So if representatives from Springfield would like to sign off, that is fine. But of course, feel free to stay on the call if you would like. We will now hear from the UIC reporting subcommittee. Brian and Paula, take it away.
Thank you, Ginger. Good afternoon, everyone. The UIC reporting subcommittee, what do we do? The reporting subcommittee is part of the OBFS UIC Business and Finance Advisory Committee. The subcommittee is here to provide assistance with all of your reporting needs, regardless of the business area. We are not limited to a specific system. However, most of the reports are found in the EDI report system. We are happy to work with you to develop new reports. If you have any existing reports that would like to modify to meet your needs, but you do not have the expertise to do it, the reporting subcommittee is here to assist. Next slide, please. The leadership team, Brian, Dimuthu, Jerry, Marisa, and Robin. The reporting subcommittee is currently looking to add another member to the team, so please reach out to one of them if you are interested in being part of this group. Next slide, please. Here's the list of some of the colleges and units that currently have representation in the reporting subcommittee. Next slide, please. You can find useful information and additional reports in the reporting subcommittee website. You will be able to find a collection of reports that the team has been working on and are ready to be used. And the website, next slide, please. Our website is located in the OBFS webpage under resources, or you can go directly to go.uic.edu/reports. Now, Brian will explain how you can run our reports in Eddy.
Yes, thank you, Paula. Can everyone hear me? All right.
Yes.
Hi, Ginger. You know, I see that I think most people from Springfield campus probably dropped off, but these reports actually do apply and can be used by both the UIUC campus and the Springfield campus. So, you know, I was hoping to share that with the Springfield folks, but
Oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
That's all right.
I
That's all right.
had not realized that. We can hit on that in a future meeting if you would like.
that's fine. That sounds good. Thank you, Ginger.
Yep.
All right, next slide, please. So yes, like, you know, as Paula just mentioned, a lot of our most of our reports will be found on the on our reporting subcommittee website. And the link to that, I'm sorry, Bernard, can you go to the previous slide? I'm sorry about that. And the links to that can actually be found on the OBFS website, right under the drop-down window. You'll see there, OBFS reporting subcommittee. All you need to do is click on the link and log in with your U of I user ID and password, and it will log you into our website, and you can start playing around and looking around our website and the reports there. So next slide. And another more recent development, about 3 or 4, maybe, gosh, 5 or 6 years ago, with the great help from the folks in AITS, we were successfully able to transfer a lot of the Webby reports that we had created that were only available on our website. We were able to, with the help of AITS, able to transfer a lot of these reports over to Eddy. And ever since then, you know, the use of these reports have gone up. And the good news is that, you know, prior to these reports being available in Eddy, you needed to get the desktop solution, the software, the right software version, in order to run and open these reports, which was a barrier for use for a lot of people on campus. So the good news is that with Eddy, you just simply log into your Eddy profile, and you are able to run, modify, and edit reports directly within the Eddy software. So you no longer need the Webby software to manipulate these reports. So that was one of the major advancements that we were able to get once we transferred these reports over to Eddy. And so when you log into Eddy, you will be able to find our reports once you click on the left-hand side, the categories. You'll see here on the red arrow pointing for number 1. If you click on the categories, it'll open up and drop down. You'll see a bunch of folders. You'll have to click on number 2, which is the solution library money folder. And then from there, in the drop down list, you'll see our UIC reporting subcommittee, the 3 arrow there. And if you click on that, you will see our testing folder. Those are reports that we have and use, and created a testing folder for pending reports that we are currently trying to create and test and vet out. And so, but in addition to that, you'll see other folders with the actual reports that you can actually run and use right there on the spot. Next slide, please. And right here, based on the suggestions we've gotten from not only our members, but from the campus, we kind of put together a broad category report guide here. These are reports that are more for general users, and it gives kind of the report title, a brief description of what, you know, each report does, so that any user can kind of figure out if it's what they're looking for, if it's going to fit their use or needs. And we also try to include the categories in terms of, you know, what kind of report it covers. Is it an HR report? Is it a grant report, a payroll report? Is it a finance report? You'll notice that the student column obviously is not checked off And that is because obviously because of FERPA reasons, Privacy and Security Act reasons, you know, a lot of the financial data is considered to be public data. And so we can mine that data using the reports that we've created. But with student data, obviously, since it is protected, there is additional scrutiny and access that would be needed for a user to access that. And so from a campus-wide standpoint, it wasn't something that our subcommittee felt was a good thing to take on. It's not that we couldn't. It's just that, you know, again, a lot of the reports and services that we provide are for a campus-wide general use. And again, with a lot of our financial data being publicly available and publicly published, you know, sharing these types of financial reports is not as restricted. So definitely, you know, check out the website, check out the EDI reports, and check out this report guide. Next slide. All right. So now what I'm going to do is do kind of a live demonstration of one of our most popular reports. It's actually a report that my colleague Paul and I had recreated, gosh, Paula, maybe 10 years ago. And fortunately, it's one of our #1 reports and one of the most frequently used. So I am going to, if you all allow me to share my screen. Yes. Okay. And where did Eddie go? Okay, share. Can everyone see the Eddie screen here?
Yes, it looks good.
All right, thanks, Ginger.
Yep.
All right, so once you log into your Eddie
Well,
account,
no. We're seeing your PowerPoint.
Oh, sorry. No, it is the PowerPoint.
it is a PowerPoint. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yep.
Thank you. Hold on. new
Thanks,
share.
Jason. I was
Yep,
just
no
coming
worries.
off mute when you
Yeah.
were saying that. I go, wait a minute. No, wrong one.
Yes, thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Let's see here. There it is. Okay, share. How's that, Jason? Does that look good?
There we got it. Yep.
All right. Thank you,
Perfect.
guys.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. So once you log into your Eddie account, you know, this is kind of what you will see. And the report that I wanted to demo is the payroll and detail expenses report. So one of the reasons why this report is one of our #1 reports and one of the most used reports is because this report gives you literally every single expense that you might have on an account. And the other nice thing about this report is that it can be used for all of your federally funded grants and contracts, as well as your privately funded grants or contracts. It can be used for your state and ICR accounts. It can be used for your revolving and gift accounts. So again, one of the main reasons this report is one of our most popular is because of the versatility and the applications. And so the demonstrations I wanted to show you, just to give you a brief purview of what it looks like, I am going to run a report on one of our foundational grants that has very little restrictions on the use of these research funds. So I don't mind sharing some of this data with you all. So here we go. So what you do here is, first thing you do is when you open the report is that you want to run a prompt. And this will open up the prompts for you to enter the parameters for your specific focal string. And so the one that I wanted to showcase today is, let's see, 550 582. You type the fund number in, push the arrow to bring it over to the prompts, type in your org code. And then another nice thing about this report, you know, obviously all of our ledgers, our standard reports and ledgers are based on accounting periods, right? And we all know that our accounting periods end at the end of each month. You know, the problem with a lot of our research grants and contracts, excuse me, obviously is that we know that it does not run on periods. The start date and end dates for any given grant can literally vary any day. And so we, you know, included a date parameter so that you can literally include your project period, irrelevant of our accounting periods. So again, just for as an example, I'm just going to run like a 6-month report here. So we're going to go, so from, let's say from June 01, 2022, and then you'll bring in the end date. We'll do 12, 31, 2022, bring that over. And once you click OK, it'll take a few seconds. Actually, it might take a minute depending upon how large the fund you're searching for is. And this introduction page kind of explains, what the report is, what the parameters and prompts that we're looking for, and some helpful notes. And then if you click on the detailed monthly expenses tab, that is the actual report, the return data that you will get. And again, this works for all state ICR accounts, all grant and contract accounts, revolving gift accounts. It'll show, obviously expenses, debit transactions, and it'll also show credit, any credits or revenue transactions that you might have. And so if you can, let me see, here we go, next page. You'll see it breaks each expense by the account codes, which is another nice thing. So for example, materials and supplies is always a big one for most research grants. And you'll see here by the account code 12400 and all of the charges pertaining to that specific account code. And it'll give you a total for each of those sub accounts, account codes. So you'll see just for the 12400, we had about $10,000 worth of expenses, liquid nitrogen, other supplies classified elsewhere. The other nice thing is that you can, see the indirect cost charges that happen automatically within our finance system. And you can also get payroll data. So we also have, just so that everyone knows, a separate payroll report, 2 of them actually. One that shows payroll data by a specific project period, and another payroll report actually that was modified by our colleague Paula Caicedo, that shows the report by UIN. And so you can kind of customize your shirts that way. And so I'm sorry, the window is blocking my next page. Here we go. Let me see. Next page. So I just wanted to show everyone that real fast. Again, it shows all kinds of, again, incoming, any kind of incoming revenues as well as outgoing expenses. So again, I encourage everyone to, definitely try out some of these reports, whether it's on our website or through Eddie. So let me stop sharing that. Go back to the word guide. All right, so a couple last slides before we're done. So future directions are one of our goals is always to increase our committee representation and participation. We are always looking for the new members to join us. Our philosophy, the more the merrier. The more minds that we have, the more diversity we have in terms of the colleges and units that are involved in our committee, the better. Simple as that. And so our current initiatives, obviously, I think we're all eager to get our hands on some of this Chrome River data once that universe is available. And I think we heard from Jerry that should be coming very soon. And that we are also working and testing some rewrite of reports when we transferred to the KC system. Obviously, a lot of the older reports that were based on the older, I forgot the name of the system, older system that we're using are no longer valid. So, so next slide, please. So that's about it. To join a committee, again, we're always looking for new members. So please reach out to any one of us on the leadership team, and we'll be happy to add you to our reporting subcommittee. We have literally members representation from all over the campus and from almost every college and research center that's out there. So the more merrier. We meet every other month, and we try to participate in these campus-wide presentations as much as we can, just to expand our membership as well as increase our notoriety on campus as well. So if there's any questions, please feel free to contact me or Paula or anyone of the membership leadership team, and again, we'd love to have you.
Thank you both. It doesn't, it looks like, Brian, it looks like there's one question in the chat.
Sure.
Can you see that, or do you want? me to-
Yes, I think, who do we contact? For some reason, I'm seeing all the chats and then it just stopped all of a sudden. Here we go. Who do we contact if someone is interested in a customized report that isn't on your website? Sure. So, that is a great question. We get that question all the time. So, I just want to remind everyone that, while we do create reports, we do try to cater reports for a larger group. So if there's a specific report for your unit or college, definitely, you can reach out to me directly and I will try to either help you directly or put you in contact with someone that can help you get the data that you're needing. But in a general sense, a lot of people think that we're just a production company that we just, create and put out reports as a product. And that's technically not true. The reports that we create are based on requests, are based on needs, actual, and based on, any kind of situational audit issues or things that come, down our pipeline. And so it's not that we are simply a report creation team, we are not that. We are more of a task force that can help you create a report. And if obviously we encourage the reports that we create and that anyone else create. We're all about sharing and caring. So, if it's a report that's useful to you, chances are it's going to be useful to somebody else on campus. And again, we encourage obviously teamwork and sharing the information and resources that you have so that all of our jobs and reporting requirements can be made a little bit easier. So.
And it doesn't look like there's anything else in the chat right now. So thank you both for the updates and for the demo as well, Brian. And finally, sorry, I know we ran a few minutes late. Real quick, I just want to again thank all the presenters today. Great information was presented, and a thank you to all the participants for coming. And as a reminder, we will get the link out to the recorded presentation and hope to see all of you for the final meeting of the academic year on May 17th. So thanks again, and everyone have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.